My name is Kelly. I own Dogkind. I specialize in confidence building for very fearful, feral, or shut down dogs. And today we're talking about getting video of these dogs, these really sensitive dogs who are often kind of afraid of the camera and will like run away if you point a phone at them. But you could really use good video or photos, maybe just for your own enjoyment, but also if you want to participate in training, especially online training, it will really help your trainer, who is often me, to see your dog so I can give really good feedback to you. So this is one of the things that I rely on heavily in the courses that I teach online for these sensitive dogs. And people often worry, well, what if I can't get video, or I'm not sure how I can get video? So that's what we're going to talk about today. It is doable. Take the pressure off, videoing fearful dogs. Who is this for? This is for you if your dog is uncomfortable or behaves differently when you watch them. Your dog runs away if you try to take a video or photo of them. But you need good video to participate in online training, which is often the best kind of training for these really sensitive dogs. So why video your fearful dog? Observing behavior without the effect of you watching can be really helpful. A lot of our sensitive dogs find us looking at them to be a little disconcerting, and so that will change their behavior. And if we're trying to evaluate maybe their activity patterns or their sleep patterns or their preferences when interacting with enrichment items, it's really better if we can observe without staring at them. So that's one really good reason to use video. It allows you to get more out of online training. As I mentioned, I am able to give much better feedback when we can look at video of your dog together in my online courses if I can see your dog in video. And it does make it easier for you to understand and help your sensitive dog. That's the big picture here, is if you can get video of them and observe them when you are not necessarily right there. Why are dogs afraid of being videoed sometimes? A lot of our very sensitive dogs, shutdown dogs, feral dogs, find attention on them to be unpleasant or aversive. And so turning our gaze to them and definitely pointing a device at them can be very unpleasant for them. Also, a lot of these dogs are uncomfortable just with any object that you hold up in your hand. They may be afraid of the tripod, the sight of the tripod, the sounds of the tripod being set up, or the movements, your movements associated with setting up a tripod. If a camera makes noise, that can also be scary. So how can you get good video without scaring your dog? I really like house cams that are always in place. They're like installed in your house, and they can record, and you can watch your dog from your phone, an app on your phone. Some of the brands that I have used or some of my students are using now include Wise, Nest, Casa Cams, and Yi. And I prefer these house cams for most types of observation, sort of naturalistic or sort of day-to-day observation of our dog's behavior. Using a phone or a tablet on a tripod to take video can be great for getting closer up and better resolution video, especially when you're doing some kind of interactive training with your dog and you might need that video to show your trainer or to show me in our online class. House cam benefits, these are the ones that are installed and up all the time. It lets you observe your dog's behavior in your absence and compare it to when you are present, and that gives you an idea of how your own behavior might be affecting your dog's behavior, which is very helpful to know when you're trying to help your sensitive dog. You can also observe their activity patterns throughout the day and when they sleep and if they're getting enough sleep and where they're choosing to sleep. Their preferences, like which enrichment items they might choose to interact with when you're not watching, where they choose to get comfortable and rest. And these house cams are also helpful for getting recordings of stuff that you didn't expect to happen. And so you wouldn't have time to like grab your phone and take a video. They capture those unexpected events, which you may want record of for your trainer or for yourself. Some tips for these house cams. Try to install them if you're going to be videoing your dog's safe space. Try to install it like far enough back or high enough up that it shows most or all of your dog's safe space. And it can be helpful, at least in the beginning, to turn off the movement tracking feature. A lot of these cameras now will swivel to follow the dog if they're moving, and that the camera makes a little whirring noise when that happens. And not all dogs will be bothered by this, but some will, so just be aware of that. You can usually turn that off though, so it will just stay still. And do make sure that you can record. You usually do have to pay for a subscription for this, but they're really cheap most of the time. Some examples from my own dog and from some student dogs of house cams, installed cams being used. This green circle right here is around a Nest cam on Pancake Safe Space back in the day. And as an example of what I could see from that camera, here it's looking down into his safe space. There's the bed. This is one of the first times I saw him play, and I was able to watch him be this relaxed and play with a toy because I had that camera up and it was recording activity. Here's an example of, this is a different brand, but another camera set up to cover a fearful dog's safe space. And the view from that camera, it's up high and you can see the whole room and that little Skye in the corner there in her bed. And this is another of Skye's cameras this one is installed up under a kitchen cabinet, and it's pointing at the entrance to Skye's safe space, and that lets, that is not the right one. Let's see if I can find it. Well, I'm sorry about that. I think I've lost that video, but it allows her mom to see when Skye comes out of the safe space. Here is, I think this is a Wise cam installed outdoors on the balcony, which is Asta's safest space in her home, one of my student dogs. And the view from there, you see how you can see most of the balcony, and Asta is that dark shape in the sort of back corner there behind the bench. And it's much easier to watch her activity when mom's not out there and she can just look at the camera. And here is another camera that Asta's mom has on her under her bed, because under the bed is a indoor sort of safe space where she sleeps sometimes. You can see it there with the lights on the right side of the screen. And this is some video captured from that camera. So something I love about these, and the same thing went for Pancake when he was first with me, is that the only time I got to see him relaxed and happy was through the camera. And that was good for my heart. So very cute video of Asta. Here's another house cam on Skylord. It shows the whole room, and his mom shared a screenshot of how it looks on her phone. So you see, I have it, you can't see the whole screen here because I couldn't fit it very well without it being tiny, but you see the video on the top of the screen, and then most of these cameras now have the option to manually pan around, which I do use frequently on I have Wise cams at my house. This is a Yi cam, so similar functionality. Now, if you're going to set up a phone or a tablet on a tripod, this can usually get better quality video and often a better angle if you're trying to share training video in an online training class. But these are also a little bit harder a lot of times for our dogs to tolerate, our sensitive dogs. I really like the tabletop tripods like the one in this photo on the left. They're smaller, and smaller objects tend to be a little less worrisome to our sensitive dogs. They do often make some clicking type noises when you're getting the phone or tablet secured in them. So I would either get it set up when your dog is not in the area, if that's in the cards, or if you have to go into your dog's area to take video, get the device secured in the tripod before going into that space so that that noise, the setup noise, is finished. Placing the tripod is important. The tripod is something that is, unless you are able to have a tripod that's out in the same location all the time, it's not part of the usual scenery for your dog. And if you have a very sensitive dog, they might respond negatively to changes in their environment and novelty. So if you can, place the tripod where it will blend in rather than kind of just out in the open by itself. Try to place it as far from the dog as you can. And once you have it set up, don't return to it and draw attention to it by messing with it. I either usually will hit the record button and then just leave it running the whole time, and then I can edit later. Or a lot of these small tabletop tripods, and actually some bigger ones too, I think, will come with a remote that you can start recording from on your phone using a little button. And I'll put, when I get the recording of this up on YouTube, and in my blog, I'll put links to the tripods I have, and some of them have remotes. So here's an example of trying to get your tripod to blend in a little more. If you have a bare coffee table like this and you've got your device in a tripod and it's just by itself, that really stands out. And your dog may well notice it and avoid it and act differently, which makes it hard to get good video. So instead, I might do one of these two things. Okay, I've got a laptop and a water cup, a coffee cup, some dog treats, to kind of make it blend in so it's not all by itself. And on the right, that might be the best setup as long as you're not blocking the camera, is to have it actually kind of mostly behind the screen of the laptop. If your dog is used to seeing laptops, that'll probably be a little less alarming to them. If you do need to use a big, tall tripod because you need the height or the angle you can get from that taller tripod, it's especially important to try to blend it into the scenery a little bit. Otherwise, as you can see on the left hand side, it just looks like a giant metal alien spider thing, like super scary. A lot of dogs would be worried about that, even dogs who aren't necessarily that sensitive. And so what I've done in the right hand side is backed it up as much as I could against the table and chairs there, so it blends in a little more. And I'm sure there are cleverer ways you could do this, but even this much of camouflage would help. Okay, so action steps. If you are working on getting good video of your fearful dog, I recommend installing house cams where your dog spends time so you can observe them on your phone when you are not there. Watch them when they're relaxed and see what do they choose to do when you're not around and they're at their most relaxed. If they are in fact most relaxed when you're not around. Where do they choose to spend time? What do they choose to interact with in their space? And if you're going to use a tripod, experiment with some setup options and see which are the least worrisome to your dog. Really getting the thing set up before your dog is around is probably the biggest thing that will help, but also kind of having it camouflaged a little bit so it's not this random new scary item in the middle of the training space can also be pretty important. Don't forget, I have one more free training before I put this thing to bed for a while, coming up tomorrow night. If you go to dogkindtraining.com/webinar, you will be able to sign up for this free live training. We'll do it on Zoom, and I will tell you all about the framework I use for building trust and confidence in our very fearful dogs.